And my mother came out kind of scared, and I said, Grüß Gott, Mutter, in Dutch. Hello, Mother. And, well, you can imagine, what a surprise and what a reunion. I stayed there all day. I had brought a little food along, which helped. I had one of my drivers, Corporal Brenner, and then we stayed there. We had assigned billets in one of the best hotels in town, but I never used them. But officially I was signed up in there. And then after Kreuztal, of course, I went back to Kreuztal. And a few days after that then, our division, the 75th, was recalled to northern France re-embarkation port. But the intelligence teams were reassigned to different places, and my team was assigned to Bremen. I came into Bremen, and there I was put in charge of a concentration camp for Nazis, a document center where we had a complete file on all the important Nazis, and also many documents which had to be sorted out with the idea of, for later research. In other words, we took the papers, filed them by date and content. Once in a while we found something important. I personally was mainly interested in patents, and we saw some very interesting patents of German inventions during the war. It was in a way interesting, except of course Bremen was without water, without gas, without electricity, and we had to make do with whatever we had. The downtown area of Bremen had been badly bombed previously, and there was the stench of decomposing bodies all over. We first we naturally took our quarters in the best part of Bremen at the Schwachhauser Heerstraße. Oh, we had a beautiful place there. Better one than I ever had in the United States. The owner of it had been an importer, an exporter of lumber. And among other things, he knew a little bit of a factory that made skis and tennis rackets in Bad Mergentheim. So we talked a little bit about it, and I tried my best to make it pleasant for these people as much as I could. But there still was a very strict law against fraternization. In other words, we were not supposed to be friendly with the Germans, which was hard to enforce, but it was a law. While in Bremen, our office first was in the police headquarters, and the job again was document center work, and really we had very little to do, so we had to find work which was look for Nazis, which was kind of hopeless. And once in a while we were able to help out some poor Germans. Some of my friends, officers who were stationed in the southern part of Germany, contacted me to contact some of his friends in Bremen and see if we can get some food to them. Sometimes we did. Then one time we were there when we heard a few shots. You see, the police building was a very large building, something like 10 stories, and a big court in the center. One time, as I say, we heard some shots. We ran out, of course, with our pistols ready, and looked down, and there we saw some people running down in the court, and then a big explosion, and half of the building collapsed. None of my men was really hurt, well, except two, I should say. One got scratched on his forehead. He was a lieutenant, and he got a Purple Heart, which meant he got home a few months earlier than he should have. And another man was buried under debris, and we managed to take him out, and he recovered. But we lost at least 30 in that building, and I don't know how many German civilians who were working for us were killed. It was a rather bad accident, and what caused it was some of our smart German, the American ordnance men collected German ammunition where they find it and collected it right there inside the building. In other words, when somebody reported some ammunition, shells or something, found someplace, we didn't want to leave it there and have an accident any place in town, so the men just brought it in, and there it was piled up in the center of that court in the police building, which was a very smart thing to do. Well, that's the stuff that exploded. Well, everybody who was still in shape, and as I say, most of my men, except two, were in good shape, we moved over to what they called at that time the Haus des Reiches, the most modern office building in Bremen. And we established our office there, complete with card file and everything else. The concentration camp was in a school, a big school building, which was completely surrounded by a barbed wire with a few guard towers, manned by men with machine guns. And there we had something like, I would say about 120, mostly men, about 20 women, Nazis, people who were known to have been very active in the Nazi party. And we more or less kept them alive, feeding them, and sometimes it was hard to get enough food to them. And tried our best to keep busy. Every man then, before long, had a mistress, and we had parties. We got plenty to drink through the English army, and the Navy then started bringing in bourbon. So it was a real soft life, but everybody was anxious to get out, except a few who participated in the black market. And they were there to fill their pockets. I personally just waited for my first chance to get out. Well, I was there a whole year in Bremen, made friends there. And every month or so I managed to make a trip to southern Germany and see my mother and my relatives, who didn't know what to make of me coming in American uniform as a captain. And of course it was a little shady how should they go and how friendly should they be with me. And I tried my best to just stay clear of them. After about a year of soft life, we had a golf course, I had hunting rifles, and as I say, we had plenty to drink, we made parties. So it was a soft life, just waiting to get enough points together to get back to the States. Finally, the end of April 1946, my turn came. My last assignment there was finance officer aboard ship, which in a way was good. I had to cash all the money which the soldiers had and give them credit for it. And then I got something like $50,000 in a briefcase. An armed guard on a jeep took me directly up to the ship, the Kokomo Victory. I established my office, and before long we were at sea, and I started to pay all the soldiers whatever they had coming. I was shy about $100, but the PX had about $300-400 excess, and I got my share out of it. So I ended up with about $20 more than I had lost. It was a rough trip going across. We had 2 meals. One item which we could buy in the PX was peanut butter crackers. And after you eat peanut butter crackers for a day and the whole ship smells of peanut butter, you get sick and tired of peanut butter. So we bought the peanut butter crackers and used it to feed the seagulls. I just called them seagull food from then on. We got back to the States, went back to Camp Kilmore and then Camp Dix. And there they tried to just give me leave for 2 weeks and keep me there and send me back to Germany because they needed translators. Well, talking pretty loud and fast and calling a few people in Washington, D.C., I managed to get out probably a week after everybody else from my ship had left. I finally got my papers and went out, and I was still in uniform, but on the way out got paid off. So I went back to Brooklyn where my sister was still living, spent a few days with her, and then went back to Berkeley where Marie was still living in an apartment on Euclid Avenue. And that was back to the U.S. on May the 3rd, went back in Berkeley on May the 8th, 1946. I still was technically in the Army, but for all practical purposes, I was finished. I was just waiting until the end of August when my final discharge was complete. And so much for the war periods. It's now 1946, and we will continue from here. The war was over, and I'm back in Berkeley, and I went back to the Pacific Gas and Electric Company. I didn't intend to take very much of a vacation, so I went back and asked for my old job back, which I got. And the old job was corrosion engineering. That's going all over the northern part of California and jacking underground installations and designing protective devices. It was interesting. I always liked to travel in California, and I figured that's a good job for a little while. Marie just about finished college, and she graduated shortly after I came, and her mother, for a graduation gift, gave her a trip to Colorado. She also promised to get me a car. Naturally I would buy it, but she would get it because it was very difficult to get a car right after the war. So Marie left and went to Denver, and I took a little bit of a vacation later on and followed to Denver and had a nice time there, but there it turned out that the car which grandmother had intended to get for me wasn't available, and I ended up with Ford Model B in rather bad shape. But I had enough money, so it didn't bother me. I figured I can get it repaired if anything happens. We did some sightseeing around Denver, and then we went all the way down to the southwestern end of Colorado to Mesa Verde. In 1946, the roads in Colorado, like in most of the western states, but especially Colorado, were very bad. And every summer, long sections of roads were under construction. And there I came along with that Model B over off roads all the way down